Okay, let's hear from our race-winning driver for tonight's 53rd annual Coca-Cola 600, making his 300th career NASCAR Sprint Cup Series start. He wins for the fourth time at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He wins his third Coca-Cola 600. He drives the number 5 Quaker State Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. He captures his first win as a Hendrick Motorsports driver. And Kasey Kahne, big night tonight for you in NASCAR. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot. It felt really good to put the entire race together and have speed all night long. Our Quaker State Chevrolet was really fast. The pit stops were great. The adjustments that Kenny and Keith came up with throughout the race were awesome, and it feels good to get a win for Hendrick Motorsports. It's something I've been looking forward to for a year and a half, to drive for Hendrick Motorsports and be teammates with Dale and Jimmy and Jeff, and to put it all together tonight and get the win feels pretty good.
We'll take questions now for our race winner, Kasey Kahne. Let's start here with George. Let's go Tom, and then Joe.
Kasey right here. George Diaz with the Orlando Sentinel. Was there any kind of motivational thing in the back of your head, you know, the celebration on Tuesday where all the drivers were up there and you were kind of last man standing, if you will, when all the drivers were honored? Obviously, you weren't a part of that because of the circumstances.
Well, I wasn't part of that because I hadn't won a race for Hendrick Motorsports, so they brought me up because I was part of the team now. But either way, I was excited to be at Darlington and be in the 200th win picture after the race and celebrate with Jimmy Johnson and Mr. Hendrick and all the guys. And you know, being there Tuesday night and listening to the stories of all the drivers who had won and thinking about the history that lies at Hendrick Motorsports and how much Rick Hendrick and Linda have done for the sport and done for so many people was pretty awesome. So I was super happy I was there and got to listen to those guys and be part of that. And great to win a race tonight and be the 201st win.
Let's go to Tom, front row. Then we'll go to Joe, and then David Newton.
Tom Bowles, front stretch and Athlon. So Kasey, you get this dream ride. You've been waiting for it a year and 9 months, and then season starts out. Could not have been more disastrous, really, if you tried. Yeah. So I was just kind of wondering what your approach was to handling the slump, not just for yourself, but for your team to get through it. Because in listening to you the last couple months, it seemed like you really felt like you needed to kind of step up and be a leader, not only for yourself, but everybody around you.
Well, I think the biggest thing was for myself was just to figure out the cars and figure out how they drove. And it's been a little bit different for me. We've had speed, you know, even the last 5-6 races we've been in the top 10, but we haven't been near as fast as, say, Jimmy Johnson or a couple of those guys that have been winning the races. So I just knew for myself I need to step up. Our team's solid. Our cars are solid. We have Mr. Hendrick gives us everything we need to win races and to run up front. And tonight we were able to put it all together. But next week will be a new show. You know, we have to figure it out again next week in practice. But it's just tough. I mean, the competition's stout. I mean, it's hard just to move through the field and pass cars because everybody's so fast and the cars are so competitive right now that it makes it difficult. But tonight we were able to kind of put one on them and, you know, had a car that was perfect throughout the last probably 200 laps, 150 laps. Our car was great. I never really doubted myself. You know, I was upset at some of the things that may have happened, and you know, I made a huge mistake at Phoenix and hit the wall there. And but other than that, we were, you know, solid. We were fast, and it was just a matter of kind of getting past those 5 weeks and moving on and putting some solid races together.
Let's go to Joe, and then we'll hear from Mr. Hendrick. Go ahead, Joe.
Joe Manzer, NASCAR.com. Kasey, I you know, from the outside looking in, you know, coming over with Kenny to Hendrick Motorsports, everybody thinks, you know, magic's going to happen right away. And I guess, Rick, if you could speak to this too, but it just doesn't always seem to happen that way. Did anybody talk to you about, you know, you might have to have patience, or were you kind of shocked that you had to have as much patience as you have had at show?
Well, I went for it right when the season started. We went testing, and the teams, you know, everybody seemed happy we were there, and the relationship started with the drivers and the crew chiefs, and I was having a blast, and we had speed in all the practices, and then things happened in the race, and so I was a little bit down on some of that stuff. But the good thing was they, just kind of moving into Hendrick Motorsports and being part of that, everybody was awesome to work with. And for me, I can sit there and look at what the other guys are doing and how it's working for them and how it's not, and I'm able to learn a lot from my teammates, and I look forward to that for a long time.
Let's hear from Rick. Rick, if you want to answer that question, and then I'll ask you just some general comments about tonight's win. And third straight week you've been up here. Wins at Darlington, All-Star race, and now at the Coke 600. Great 2-week stretch for you, but if you want to hit Joe's question first, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I said this in our media tour that I thought that we had the best balance, and I was excited about the year, the way Kenny fit in, and we knew how Kasey, you've seen Kasey, I've seen Kasey drive, and knowing that if we give him the equipment, he ran so good everywhere he's been and over at Red Bull. And he got in the car and he did the same thing here. But he and Jeff both have had just rotten luck. I mean, I don't think I've blown a motor at Martinsville in 20 years. And he was sitting on the pole running second, and we lost a motor. I mean, it was like he said at Vegas, last lap, third or fourth, and Matt crowds him into the fence, and it's just been Daytona run all day, and then we get swept up in a wreck running in the top 10. It's been, but I've been doing this long enough to know if you have speed and you can run up front, you're going to win races. But if you're running 20th and you stretch gas mileage and you end up with a couple of 10th place finishes, you're not going to win running like that. So I feel like, and have felt like all along, when the luck would turn, these guys would win races.
Rick, maybe just talk about win at Darlington, Sprint All-Star race, and now here the Coke 600. Like I said, it's been quite a couple weeks for Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah, I thought we weren't ever going to get to 200. We were in here the other day talking about it, and you run well, but you just can't close the deal. You have a bunch of second-place finishes. It's super competitive out here, and if you make one mistake in the pits, or you miss an adjustment, or you can have a problem. These guys race so hard, but it's been an unbelievable week for us to get the 200 win at Darlington, then to come back and win the All-Star race. And I thought Kasey had won one of the segments. It's a photo finish with Brad. If he had won that race, I think he'd have probably been up behind Jimmy. Dale won the Open and a segment, ran good tonight. So it's, I think we're showing the potential of the teams, and I'm really looking forward to the second half of this year.
I will open it back up for questions. I think we were going to go to David Newton, and then we'll go to the press box.
Yeah, this is for, I guess both of you guys could answer it. On Tuesday, Rick, you kind of put the pressure on him. You asked him if he was going to win the 600 at your ribbon cutting, and Kasey said, I hope so, and you told him that wasn't good enough. Kasey, you like to even come out and say, yes, I'm going to win, but you kind of got over your bashful ways and did it. Talk about that. And, Rick, were you trying to kind of turn up the heat on him?
Yeah, I'm always kind of, I don't say too much. I'd rather just try to perform when it's time. But, yeah, Mr. H was on me that day to win tonight, and it worked out. It felt good. It's been great. We were at HendrickCars.com that afternoon, kind of the grand opening there, and we were having some fun. So that was nice. I'm a big Churchill fan, and in his comments were, sometimes your best isn't good enough. You have to do what's required. And I had a coach pull that on Chad one day. Chad got up and said he was going to try to win the championship, and the coach said from Appalachian, he said, well, sometimes your best isn't good enough. And so we kind of kid around with that, and we were having a good time at the grand opening. But I did have a gut feeling about him, how I've seen him win the race over here late at night in the All-Star race, and finding that groove, and listening to Kenny tonight make the adjustments. And he made some he wasn't afraid when he's running first to make another adjustment, and kept getting the car better and better and better. So now you got to win Dover. Okay.
Let's go to Nate Ryan upstairs, I believe, and then we've got Kenny Francis join us, crew chief. Go ahead upstairs, press box. I'm sorry, go ahead, whoever's first.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Congratulations, Kasey. Through the tough times, can you talk about how important it was to have somebody like Kenny by your side, considering the relationship the two you have had over the last, however many years?
It was really good, and towards the end of that, I got pretty down a couple times, and Kenny's like, "Oh, we got more cars, we got more fast cars, we'll be fine." And to me, that was, he's never really said anything to me like that before, but he definitely wasn't fine with the way that the season had went. But to that point, he knew we had speed, he knew we were all working hard and trying hard, and it just hadn't worked out to that point. So myself and Kenny have got along great for, I don't know, 5, 6 years now, 5 years. And to work with him and to be able to kind of read each other and understand. Tonight I started getting mad about my left front, and I wanted to go one direction, and he calmed me down and talked to me about going the other direction, and I got thinking about it, and that's the way we went. So, I mean, it's things like that he kind of understands, and understands that I get how I get once in a while, and we make it through, and we ended up winning tonight. But, yeah, Kenny's always been great for me.